I didn't really plan for what I think I'm gonna do this time. Oh, but I guess I didn't finish with merge, so I guess I have to do that. Well, this probably mostly works. Let's see. Oh, I should probably like make the tutorial code into its own standalone thing. That would probably be helpful. Oh yeah, there is some organization to do actually. Well, let me make sure this version of Manum, which is the version that runs on the web, or it's like WebAssembly compatible or whatever. And to make sure this one runs all of my tutorial code at least. And then I might end up putting all the tutorial code into its own repo. But that looks good. That's fine. Projection model view. Right, so that works fine. That works fine. Yeah, that looks fine. And the very centric thing. Okay. The planets. I wonder if I should put circles on this, just to show the paths of the orbit paths or whatever. Might end up doing that. And the logo. Cool. Great, so that plays everything. I'm pretty sure it runs on the web app just fine. Though I'll rerun this just to make sure. I guess I should open the debug tools too. And run that. Okay, it's going to be slow with the dev tools open, but this runs fine. Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add all these changes, and with that, the web version will be updated to 0.9. Yeah. V090 merge. Okay. Great, so that's merged. And the web app is up to date too. So I guess what I should do What I'll have to do eventually is make this a little cleaner. And I should probably host it pretty soon somewhere to get more of the bugs ironed out. And I'm gonna have to go through sometime and get rid of all these places where it has OpenGL and just use the regular names. I'll have to do that at some point. But I do not want to write that CSS necessary for this. It's going to be really annoying. Just for now. Oh, hey, Daryl Golden. How are you doing? Maybe I should come up with some base colors to work with. Or maybe I could just steal some colors from Dracula or something. I guess I already have a color that I use for my Twitch page. Although I picked it pretty randomly. The red is about this red though. But other than that, I don't know if I can just use Dracula colors. They might not like that. Okay, I'm gonna try to start with the red I chose, more or less at random. And that's not the right page. I'm not sure I know how to get to the right page. Okay, not this dashboard. Maybe it's video producer. Nope, that's not it either. This is what it looks like to not want to write CSS. Where are the colors? Oh my goodness. Maybe it's in settings. Oh, I think that was it. Well, it's close. I have the profile information. I think actually, I think it's here. And then maybe there's something on the side. Okay, there's the color. Great. So I start with this one. There's no way it doesn't let me insert this color, right? Like just copy paste this. Well. Oh, there's a picker, so it's close. Then we can put it in here. No. I didn't even know there were this many ways to choose colors. Name, favorites, lab. Yeah, I guess not. I guess you have to do it this way. Okay. This is actually great. This is all this time that I don't have to write CSS. Okay, so this is 255, 61, 61. Great. I want to have a purple, I think. Yeah, that's good enough, purple. So I'll lock that one in too. Cool. And with this, I think I'll try to add a... First I'll try to add a banner or something around the editor. Try to make that a little smoother. So let me look at that. So it's pretty much around this code area. So I'll go to code area here, then I'll have to do a border. I guess it's just border color. What about the thickness and stuff? Is border style. This doesn't let you do all three. But it's only showing me for style. And then there's border width. Then there's border color. Pretty sure you can do those all at once. Yeah, like this. Okay, so let me do copy one of these just to get it started. Sure, fine. And then I want this probably only on the right and left sides. On the top, I'm going to want to add some sort of a banner, probably with the file's name. Or the scene name or something. I think it's 2 pixels. Solid, and I want this to be like some sort of gray. So I'll just say this A6 repeating. It's probably decent. I'll probably do even more, but that's fine for right now. Let me go on and try to put this header here. Yeah, so let me just do that. Let's have a background color. I'll choose the purple from before. Hope that's how that works. It didn't appear. Mouse move, yeah, whatever. So here, I guess I have to give this some sort of a height. So if I just do height like 40 pixels or something, yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna want this to have rounded colors, and I'll probably put the Python logo on the side of it. I want to probably color the render button too. Okay, so border radius can take one thing. Not around all of them. I only want to round the top ones though. Top left, top right, bottom left. What in the world? 3 of them. Top left, top right, and bottom left. Wait, and bottom right. Okay. Top left and bottom right, top right and bottom left. Interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna want to do probably like, I'll just do 20 pixels, 20 pixels. Something like that 0, 0. Okay, that looks decent. Probably gonna want some padding on the top, or some margin on the top, sorry. Oh, and I don't know how to put icons either, so I need to figure that out. I just put... Let's put that here. And even that's on the wrong side. I want that probably aligned to the right. I think I can make this a flex. Oh, and I have to close it. Okay, I guess that at least works. Then I have to just see how this library does the rest of its flex box. I forgot what the UI library I'm using is even called. I can just search view 3 material. And it was one of these. It wasn't bomb, wasn't element, it was wave. So align start, align center. I want to do like space between or whatever. I think it's this one. Justify space between. So one of them will be the file name. And then the Python like icon. Okay, so that's more what I want. And then if I align center, like so. Great, and those have to be white. The color will have to be white. You can just put white here. Okay. Let me see how I can do these icons. There's a cheat sheet. So I guess I install this, do this, and then... Why are there two of these? With ligatures. Icons ligature material icons. What are ligatures? You might expect me to know that. However, interesting. It looks like it's a property of words, not icons. Also, why is this so quiet? But yeah, this is a Python icon. I think I'll just install the base one. Yeah, the site they have to look them up doesn't exist, I guess, so. I will just install the regular ones. Then hopefully I can import this, and then what? W icon. Okay. Okay, so I did that. I'll import this CSS file. Great. Then try replacing this. I'll just copy this verbatim from here. And it didn't appear. Why? MR1 color equals primary material icon star. Wonder what color equals primary even is. But yeah, I can't get this up here. Get this to appear. Oh, I imported the wrong thing. Oh, and I installed the wrong thing. I guess it shouldn't matter. But I don't know what the ligature icons are. Okay, well, I'm just gonna remove that. And this line. Install the regular ones. Okay. It still doesn't appear, I guess. Let me look at the code. Oh, it says to use MDI. Okay, so this does appear now. Great, so I'll make this a Python. I think it's language Python or something like that. Yeah. Cool. Need some, I guess, margin. Or maybe there should just be padding on this. Yes, I think it's like padding around. Then I could do 4 or something. Oh, but I only want it on the left and right. So I guess padding X. And the color changed. Why? Color primary just shouldn't be here. And actually the extra small shouldn't be here. Margin right 1, maybe? And that looks decent. I'm gonna take off the margin right 1. It's so annoying that I have to refresh this each time. Usually don't have to do that. But that looks decent. Now just the file name. I don't even know what to put for this. I guess for this particular example, it's like some sort of sine and cosine visualization. I'll just put some random thing for now. Sine cos, yeah, sure. So the border around the sides it shouldn't be on the top. Maybe it should be on the bottom. Really, this editor should be contained within another container, I think. And I'm sure that the CSS for that is going to be a nightmare. I'm actually so sure that I'm scared to do it. Well, maybe it won't. Let's see. If I just put... I think it'll have to be a W-flex. Yep, that ruined everything. Okay, let's see. This is grow column margin... Grow column MR1. I think I want this header. Right, what do I want? Maybe what I really want. I want it to be this header, then the container for the editor, and then a container for the button. So here's the header. Then I want, yeah, so I do want this. And then I do want that. And so this, which is a column, do I want this like, I don't want the top to grow. Okay, I'm gonna save this. See how wrong this looks. Okay, so that's this. But actually the text, oh, here's the code. Perfect. Not really perfect, but... Okay. So for the header... Here? I gave it a height, but it's growing due to the flex box, so... Hopefully no grow will fix that. Hopefully. Okay, looks like it's doing it. It's annoying that the scroll bar appears only when this button is focused. Because, when it's focused, it gets this border around it, and that brings the scroll wheel in. I'll have to fix that. But, this is generally pretty good. Now what would I want to do? Maybe just... Actually, now that I did this, I'm not sure if I still want it. Maybe this doesn't need any background. I'll try it. So I could just do this like padding around like 2 or something. And then I could have the border be around this one. Which I don't even know where that border is. This one around the code area. I can have a code area container, which I think I'm violating the way this naming convention is. But I copied these rules, so whatever. So I do that. I think that looks decent. Oh, you know what I should do? Yeah, what'll make this better is if I curve the borders on the bottoms. So here, I want this border radius to be opposite what it is for the header. Like so. And I didn't save this. Okay, so now you can now it sort of looks like this is a single unit since this has the curved top and the curved bottom. It's kind of too bad that I can't affect how these scroll bars look. Oh well. But then that gray line, I want that to be on the top and everywhere but the top, pretty much. Just like border right. Okay. Actually, maybe I can do this and then do border top none or something. Great. Okay, so that looks a little bit more together. The padding looks like a bit too much. I'll make that a 1. Okay, that's... but now I can... The scroll bar is like poking out just a little bit. So maybe if I decreased all of the border radii... I kind of think that might end up looking kind of not that great. Maybe no matter what. But I should make this a lighter color for sure. Where is... so this... I'll try this one, CD. Did it update? Okay, that time it updated. These scroll bars are just too big. Maybe I can style them. I don't think I can, but maybe I can. Mm, but I'll get to that just a little bit later. I wonder if I want this part, the button, to be merged with this. And I probably do. Like, anytime you see this code, you have this editor, you'll probably want a way to render it to some screen somewhere. So it might just make the most sense if this was part of the same, like, logical block. I'm trying to remember how it looked on the old Orator site I had. I wonder if that is still up. Yes? Oh wow, that is still kind of up. There's no way this... Oh my god! Wow, that's from forever ago. And there's only one scroll bar? Wait, if I shrink this... Wow, it just... The style is so good. I should just copy this. Rough, or at least these borders. Border radius is 10 pixels. I'll just go with that. Okay, and then I added a lot more padding around the code editor itself. So let me up this to 3 or 4, I guess. Okay. That's decent. It does sort of look like it's loading in the middle of nowhere here. Maybe just 3 is good enough. Yeah, that looks decent. As for the buttons, do I want it to be detached like this? And I think I don't, actually. Man, this was such a good site. It's too bad that it was awful. I think I'm gonna try having the button merged into this. Well, no, there might be times when you actually do want to see this without any rendering options. Just like see some non-editable code. Like if you were putting up something for, I guess if you were teaching, maybe you'd want code that isn't editable. Maybe. But not editable doesn't mean you'd never want to re-render it, actually. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it. So I'll... What will that entail, though? I think all I'd have to do here is put the border not around the code area container, but around this. This is like an editor container or something. If I put it here and take it off the last place. Okay, so this is what I want. Although it doesn't look good yet. Oh, wait. I'm gonna have to have the bottom 2 of these within a different component or a different tag or whatever than the top. And that might get annoying, actually. Actually, do I? Maybe I can put this back how it was, like this. And then if I want to include this button logically within the top thing, then I can take off the border radius on this and take off the border bottom. Then put the button within its own container, which I'll just make a flex. And that ruined everything. But I think all I have to do is make this one have the no grow class as well, hopefully. Okay, great. So that's back pretty much where I wanted it. And now what I can do is give this one a class where the button is. And this one okay, so it'll have border top is none. I wish the CSS auto updated. Why is this line still here? Also, I wish the screen always resized to fit this. But what I think I'm gonna have to do is add some padding around this. Should just be like padding around 2. Okay, so that looks decent. Oh, this is why I want the border top none, I think. Okay, so that's doing roughly what I want. I think I will actually want that border on the top, though. I feel like this does need some sort of separation. So I'll do that, and then I'll round the corners on the bottom. So this will be 0, 0, 10 pixels, 10 pixels. Great, so that looks fine. The color is not what I want it to be. But, it's mostly fine. If I go to look at a button, these colors are decent. I mean, I might as well just use my own color. So where's the button? Here. You say BG color. And let's put in the purple from before. If I can use them correctly. Okay. Okay, so I'll try that. And that didn't work at all. Maybe you just can't add a color like that. Mix background and text colors. You can set a color and a BG color. Maybe it only uses material design colors, which should also be configurable. So if that's true, these would be the purples I could use. In that case, maybe it's just worth, instead of using whatever colors I was using, just mapping them onto material design colors. So I'll just try purple here. Okay, then the text color will have to be white. Colors aren't something I want to get too bogged down in right now. Okay, but now that's white. The button does look kind of small and actually kind of faded. I wish I could make it more saturated, I think is the term. All the presented colors above are here to make you go faster when you need a color. But you are completely free to define CSS classes in your CSS to associate a color to a class. For instance, you can define like this. Okay. Pale blue dash dash BG. Why does it have the dash dash BG here? I guess that's just an example, but okay. So I'll call this like magenta. And then copy this. And see if I can color this magenta. Nope, that didn't work. Darn. Oh, I guess it... Wait, background color? Oh, maybe that's why I had the dash dash BG. So I do this dash dash BG. I can say background color. Then maybe I say background color goes magenta now. And I guess that didn't work either. Darn. It just has pale dash blue here for BG dash color. This is pale dash blue dash dash BG. Yeah, I don't know. That's annoying. Let's see if I can... I should be able to check this in the debug colors though. This is the background color is just 0, 0, 0. Oh, should this be... I don't know why this is doing this. If anything, I would have to do style equals background color this. Okay, and that does it. But that's a weird hack. I guess it's not that weird, but it says it should work like that. I don't think it makes sense to have this dash dash BG here. me try BG color equals this. I think this makes a lot more sense. No, but it doesn't like it. Okay. So for now, I'll just do the style thing. Great, did it. Now, what I'm gonna want to do, maybe I could decrease these borders a little. I mean, now it has a square around it in the code part of the editor. And so it won't look as weird if I decrease that border, I think. Wait, change this to a 2. This could possibly... I could maybe have the padding on the... This could maybe just be padding on the X and Y direction. And this can be just flush. That doesn't look so bad. I think I do need some padding beneath this, or like... padding on the bottom? Is that what I'm looking for? Okay. Actually, do I need the padding on the side here? I probably do, actually, but I'll see just to be sure. That doesn't look terrible, actually. Like, the code doesn't look that close over here. I'll just make any of the padding that I do with this, I'll make it 1. So in the X direction 1, on the bottom 1. Let's see how that looks. I always feel like on the right it should just be 0. Whatever, this is fine. I'm not gonna get too bogged down in this. Okay, so let me... For now, I'll just make this a line justify end or whatever. Move the button to the side. Okay. Okay, no, I don't want to do that actually. Space around. I should just put it in the middle. Which also looks kind of weird, but better than what it looked like before, I think. Okay, then I'm gonna need some margins on the top and the bottom of this. I think I just need padding Y for the container element. Yeah, that looks a little better already. Then I should make it so that this isn't... It should be like faded or something until Python is loaded. That would be neat. Doesn't do that thing with the scroll bar on the side anymore. Should I put a banner up here? I don't see why not, I guess. Let me see what other examples I have. Let's have the sign one. What was this one? So this would be example 9. I feel like this button has too much space. Whatever. Oh, it's this one. I feel like there's something up with the translation between JavaScript points and Python points. Seems a little off. But I won't deal with that right now. Actually, I want to go back to the sign one. Okay, okay. And this one, can I make that a 1? A little less space down here. I think this is probably going to end up being its own panel or something. But I do want a banner at the top. I wonder if it's worth it to try to round the edges of the renderer here. Did I do that here? I didn't. I'll just leave it in that case. I do want to have more space between these though. I think these are too cramped. Padding X. So this is this, the editor. Let's bump that up to 3. Still doesn't look like enough. Maybe that's better. If this has a 4 margin here, then I probably want it beneath the canvas as well. Okay, so I'm gonna put this to 4. Yeah, that looks decent. What I should, eventually I should make it so that if you have a Python error, it'll be displayed here instead of the dev tools. But that's for another day. Hey Blake4096, what's going on? It's pretty janky that there's no way to switch between scenes without like going in and editing code. I'm trying to decide if I care about that before like putting this somewhere public. Also, does it look like these spaces are not the same? What's going on with that? This says margin bottom 4. Something must have a margin right or a margin left. Is it this? This doesn't have margin right. This is margin right 4. Maybe they are the same. This is margin bottom 4, which is 16 pixels. And this one's also 16 pixels. Okay, I guess they are the same. I think this button has to be not surrounded by the rounded corners. That looks too weird. So this border radius should be here. Okay, that looks fine. And then for the button container, that can just not have any styling. Oh, but this needs some like padding on the bottom or something. Let's do padding bottom too. So that doesn't get cut off. Oh man, that didn't fix it. Hold on, what's covering this? What if I did padding around too? That doesn't fix it either. I just up this to like 5 or something. I must be adding padding around the wrong thing. Yeah. Yeah, this is the button container. I want it on code area container. Earlier I was freaking out because for my job, I was going to be maintaining old code in C++ instead of writing new frontends in JS. I realized I don't envy debugging CSS. Debugging CSS is impossibly difficult. If you're not using a framework or something, some library, that's gotta be like the worst form of torture. Because there's just so many rules to keep up with. How is this being covered? What is this being covered by? Or maybe it's just that... Maybe this doesn't have border bottom, whatever this rule is? Yeah, it's border bottom none. So that's what I... Code area container. But there's so many rules to remember in CSS that you can just never remember them all. Okay, that looks decent. This is padding around 1. Is it padding on the bottom also 1? No, it's padding bottom 2. Maybe I can just make this a 1. I want it like in between 1 and 2. Whatever, I'm doing padding around 1. That's what I'm doing. No, I'm not, just kidding. This needs to be done by someone who's less OCD than I am. Okay, let me try making 2s. Okay, this looks good, actually. I think this is completely fine. I'm just gonna leave that way. Okay. Eventually I might want to style this, the code editor. So much of this isn't, wait. Oh, this is actually used. It just doesn't have a declaration or whatever. Okay. We do that, and now I'm gonna want to add a banner to this. Basically like this one. I hope I can do that. Let's see. Badge, breadcrumbs, drawer, divider. I wonder what drawer is. I'm not trying to do that. I feel like this is what I wanted when I was separating the button here. That's fine. I think it's a toolbar. Yeah, and then I can put that at the top. Oh, this one has shadow. I should add shadow to basically all of these elements, just to give them more definition. And I guess this has shadow by default. Oh no, it has a shadow option. Class equals title 2. So I'm just going to add one of these in. So here's the flex. Here's the editor container. Then here's the other thing. So this is the row. So I want it here, I think. Perfect. Now if I fill width. Great. Now it's too big. This is a flex row, isn't it? I just put... Oh, I already used header. Let's get this banner. All this CSS is going to come back and bite me. I should be using SCSS or SAS or something like that. But I don't feel like figuring out how to use those right now. Darn. It's still too big. Wait, why did it shrink? When I refresh it, it's big. Please don't tell me when Pyodide loads, it turns small again. That's annoying. Class equals banner. I don't know why this doesn't keep it. Maybe if I put max height or something? Or I gave it the... Let me put... Oh, whoops. I'll put the regular height, and then I'll put the no grow class. Although I think it's growing in the... Okay, I guess it worked. It seems weird, because I didn't think it was growing along the primary axis, which is like a flexbox thing. I think. Yeah, okay. But whatever, if that works, that works. So, oh wait, if I close this. Nah, now I have to scroll to see everything, which I don't want. Well, at first I don't, but after Pyodide loads, then I do. Maybe that's just a matter of... Oh, well, this is 100% zoom, actually. But I would eventually like to make it so that this... so that if you zoom in, this would just shrink. Something must be like... 100% height somewhere in here. Code area is height 100%. The code area is within this thing. Maybe it's just a matter of making the renderer and the Python thing smaller. All of this CSS is just going to be a nightmare. I'm going to have to sit down one day and actually figure this out in like a more comprehensive way. But for now, so it's currently 640 by 360. The renderer has to have a fixed size. Maybe I can make it so that the terminal will change size. This is no grow and no shrink. And it's a column with the canvas and then the terminal. Which I think that makes sense. I'm gonna try making this height 100. Let's see if that breaks anything. Okay, so that's good. Now when I zoom in, this shrinks. And I don't want this. Maybe it's possible to have the renderer resize too. It would have to keep the same aspect ratio because then, like, literally your code wouldn't do what you... Like, you'd have to change the Python code, which you can't really do from JavaScript. But maybe it's possible to, like, shrink it down and maintain the aspect ratio. I think it should be. But now this needs more padding on the bottom, for sure. This looks too cramped. Actually, even the button looks pretty close. Eight pixels. Right, it's a tiling window manager for the web. That'd be pretty cool. Honestly, this kind of setup is pretty close to when I run Manum. You just run some random thing. Let me do this. Oh, this doesn't have the UI. Okay, but when I run Manum, I have my screen like this. So the code is here, the screen is here, although this is a little off. And this is like GUI stuff. So what I will probably end up doing is at some point having a way to add like widgets here. Maybe, possibly. But it is kind of one-to-one with that. Anyway. Yeah, what is the padding here? This has some padding on its bottom, and there's some padding along the bottom of the screen. So I think this row needs more than padding Y2. Seems like padding Y3 or 4. Okay, that's probably fine. But I think it actually would look good to have this terminal, to surround this terminal with a container, and for that container to have rounded edges. I think that would look really nice. I wonder how hard it is. So it's already within this, W flex. I just put padding around 2. What did that do? Why is there no padding on the bottom? Wait. Where's the can? Oh, I added the padding to the wrong thing. That's not what I want. I have to do this. And did something wrong? Now it's offset from the terminal above it, or from the canvas above it. Like the canvas has some padding too for some reason. Why is that? What has padding here? It's W flex. I do padding right 0? That's really weird. Is that only after pyodide loads? Yeah, after pyodide loads it shifts. Why would that happen? It's like this column has to be fixed size. Well, it is no grow and no shrink, so maybe that's why. Oh, and this has a fixed width. So maybe the width should just be 100%. I've never gotten away with this many 100% in CSS before. Usually, the more like 100% you throw in, the more wrong it becomes. Okay, but that worked. So whatever. I just need it to be the same size as before. So I have this class. I'll try making this a W flex, I guess. Wait. If I give this grow. Okay, so that looks like it worked. So now, let's give, I'll call this terminal container. And then, I'll give this a black background. And oh, it's because I used. Wait, how can I make this black? Why isn't this black? The terminal container. Oh, is it not background color? Is it just... Now it's black. Terminal... Oh, I spelled this wrong. Okay, try that again. So now this is hard to read, but okay. Okay, that looks decent. When it says loading pyodide... Oh, now that I think of it... there was a new version of pyodide released. I'm gonna have to upgrade to that. Okay, make that in white. Then I can add the border radius in. So 10 pixels all around, I think. Great. Okay, great. So it's loading pyodide in white, which this will probably be replaced with a spinner or something. Anyway, and then it does this. Now I think the padding might be too much, though. Let's try that with a 1. And do the same thing. That looks a little tight, but it's probably fine. Okay, and that looks great. Now when I zoom out, it resizes, and I zoom in, it resizes. Great. It'd be really nice to be able to drag this. But alas. Thanks. I do my best. So you don't have a window to open. Maybe right now I'll just link the Manum community GitHub over here. So this can just be a span on span. I want another span. This one, actually this won't be a span, it'll just be the button. Wait, where's the icon? And like this, if I have justify space between? Which I don't know if this is even a flex element. I guess it's not because they're all, it's bunched over there. Row, column. The W flex component. I guess I can always just give it display equals flex. Boy, do I wish I took a class on web dev. Maybe now it's a flex element, so I can do justify space between. Okay, now it moved over there, so that's good. But I want this icon to be a button. It doesn't have anything... Oh, the icon button. And so like this, I guess? So you do... It's just W button with a W icon inside of it. Oh, you give it an icon property. As someone who's taken a class on web dev, I wish I'd learned some of this stuff. I learned web dev with like a bunch of YouTube videos. Which goes to show how helpful YouTube videos can be, I guess. But my first time learning HTML and JavaScript and CSS was a bunch of YouTube videos. And the first website I wrote, it didn't use any framework. It was just HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so the icon doesn't appear. Icon... I'll just put language Python here. Guess that didn't work either. WI check. This is from Wave UI itself, I think. Could this be the wrong color? Button BG color. What if I do regular color? And it didn't work. Okay. I just do color white. No, that doesn't do anything. Darn. But if I made this a WI check. That does work. Darn. But I don't want a WI check. Although I guess I don't know for sure if this worked before setting color white there. Damn, it's still like this box. I guess it's just as good to just put the W icon inside like this. I guess. Let's see what that does. Why did it turn into a square? Anyway, what I want here is the GitHub. Oh my gosh, and does the GitHub not appear? Oh, it's at MDI GitHub. Great. Okay. And I think this could actually just be, I don't know, a more neutral color. Okay, maybe like that, and then this can be black. Yeah, I guess that's fine. It needs to be bigger, and I wish it was a circle. Do I have to have icon equals something for that? If I just put icon. It's still a square. Now it's a circle, but it doesn't appear. That's super annoying. Darn. W icon MDI GitHub for the class. I wonder if this has a GitHub. Oh man. I mean, this library isn't that big in the first place. Or was I looking? Yeah, I wish it said more about what you're supposed to pass in here. WI cross. I don't even know where that showed up from. Are many developers actually happy with the process of programming? There are probably like ups and downs to it, but then the ups outweigh the downs. I set a color and a BG color. I need an icon button instead, if not just set a BG color. If you want to set a background on an icon. I guess you can spin them and stuff. I like watching my test cases pass. Yeah, being able to see all the green checks is a good feeling. It's too bad my tests never pass. Okay, one last thing. I'm gonna try putting MDI here. I can't believe that worked. Wait, and then if I remove this? Because that was a guess. Interesting. Well, if it ain't broke anyway. I'm gonna want that to be bigger. Icon left MD sets the size of the button. Seems like a weird attribute. It's default in loading. Oh, it's size equals MD or whatever. Okay, so let me try LG. And that didn't do anything at all. Oh, I guess the banner size is fixed. Banner here. If I take off this style. Okay, that actually looks fine. So I might as well take that off. But I don't see why these buttons would be so small. Oh, you just passed MD, LG, whatever. Okay, so that made it bigger. If I go to... This is actually really small still. Guess I'll make it XL. But really... I just want this to be a really big button. But when I'm at 100% zoom, my screen is pretty big, but all of this actually looks pretty small. Like if I was on this website, I'd want to go to like 125 or so. Okay. I'll just do width and height. What if I can just do 40? Something like that. It made the button bigger, but not the icon. Hilarious. Okay, I'm just gonna make this XL for now. Okay. Then I actually want to link that, which I also don't know how to do. I think it's just like this. It didn't work. Or maybe I have to add the anchor over the button, something like that. Yeah, but this isn't doing it. So maybe it's like this. Okay, so that does it, but I want it to be in a new tab. Rel? Never heard of the rel thing. Let's recommend security measure. More information can be found below. Yeah, okay. The web is bad. Great, so now that should link to the W3 schools. I'll just link it here. Okay. I guess the left should say Euler tour. Only bigger and stuff. I basically want to copy the style from whatever I did here. MR1 display 1. I don't know how this UI library handles typography. Title 1. I guess I can do title 1. Yeah, it looks decent. That's fine. And I should probably have that image too. I think I have that in pictures. Nope. Documents, downloads. Perfect, just what I was looking for. And look for the PNG. I'll put that into public. And what I want to do, how do I put it in public assets? Okay, then I'm gonna add this image. Oh, and they have something. Simple IMG will display when loaded and will take the dimensions of the actual image. And the image is a large file size. It will be loaded in chunks and the image will be displayed truncated until completely loaded. If it ever fails to load a broken image icon, will display instead, different on every browser. Okay, I'll just take its word for it. Wimage colon source equals base URL. You can also use process and base URL if the image is in the public folder. If it's in the public folder, then I could just use a relative path. Like so. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so you can just give a width and a height, I guess. So I'll do 40, 40. I don't know if this image is a perfect square. Probably not. Okay, that looks good. Pretty much the same way it did before. Image has a span. I'm going to send another span. Oh, now this needs to be shifted up. So this, or with this rather. No, I'll leave the image alone. I'll put this on margin left, like 1. And that didn't seem to do anything at all. That did something. Okay, I'll just leave it at 1. And I'll see if I can center it with margins Oh wait, I should just be... This should be a W flex, I think. Wait. This should be a flex with a line center. And I should center them vertically. Which that is not very centered. And now if I get rid of the margin bottom 2, yeah, that's pretty centered. Great. And this doesn't have to link to anything. But over here, it'll link to the community GitHub. Which is great. There's plenty of work to do to make this still like before I'd want to make this something people would want to use. Uh-oh, did something happen with the rendering? I guess it wasn't loaded? No, I don't know why it's not rendering. Mouse down is not a function. Oh, I guess when I clicked, that just broke it. Try that again. I think if I click... No, I can click without it breaking. Surprisingly. Okay, I think I'd like to deploy this somewhere. But I don't really know how. It'd have to be something that can serve... that can like serve a non-standard MIME type. Because WebAssembly does that. Let me see. Yeah, you get this error. Most web servers don't know about the WASM MIME type. You'll likely see this error. Here's how to add the MIME type. Open Etsy MIME.types. You'll see 2 columns. Media type on the left and file type on the right. Add the application WASM/WASM. But if I do like GitHub pages or something. Oh yeah, that's too bad. Failed to... Yeah, so this is the problem you'd get. I guess this person fixed it. I do not understand this. Oh, it's something the Webpack config, I guess. Get 'em pages awesome. I'll just put MIME type. I don't even know what a MIME type is. Well, I guess I don't know what it stands for, but I know it has to do with the way that the file is interpreted. That the browser interprets it. From MDM, this is on... I think it's help for GitHub pages. And this person just says that's not possible. Well, I guess I'm not doing that. Maybe I should just work on some other thing for about 10 minutes. What would be kind of nice is if I could give this terminal a reference to the Manum scene. Or if there's like a presentation mode where the render was way bigger, this window was way bigger, and you just interacted with that, that'd be pretty neat. Or making it so you can select multiple scenes, that's a big one. Or making it so you don't have to type OpenGL all these times would also be good. There's so many things I need to do. Okay. I think I made a file called single quote. Okay, going to remove that. What to do next? It has been almost 2 hours, but I don't feel like tired right now. I wonder what it would take to give this terminal a reference to the scene. Probably not a ton. I do man scene.setup. Wouldn't it just be... If I import JS here... Could that work? I could do for example, js.alert. Okay. So if I save this Manum scene... I don't think I'd want to access it through JavaScript though. Since it's already in Python, I probably want to access it straight from Python. Let's get set up right here. Maybe I can just do, if I do like m equals. I wonder if that would break anything. If I'm lucky, it could be the case that it'll... I also need to have a default mouse move for sure. Okay, so now M is a scene. Wait, so let me render this. If I do M dot... That work? No, and I think it makes sense that that wouldn't work. Manum scene equals whatever. Also, I don't think this needs to be set up right here. I think I can just remove these lines and everything will go just as fine. Now render, yeah, the same thing. And the reason is that this scene is set up a second time. Here. So here, if I go scene equals, maybe this will do it. Okay, so now if I try to... Scene shouldn't exist. Oh, it does exist. Oh, scene is already a thing. So I call this like Manum Scene, which is kind of a weird name. Let me do that. And here, I think Manum Scene won't exist. If I render this... Oh, okay, that makes sense. So this line doesn't return anything. So what I want to do is just run this. And maybe I can do this? Let's see. If I run this... Okay, now I have a reference to that scene. So if I do this.add... Okay, cool. How would I even... Manum Scene... I should have gotten a reference to this square before I added it. I guess I can re-render. And I can say x equals the square. Manum Scene. I can add x. I can do f.shift. Great. Now I can do stuff here. I could, for example, add updater. Lambda on mob? I'll do left. I guess the updater didn't work. Or it only ran once for some reason. Oh, the terminal freaking goes off the edge of the screen? That's so dumb. I wonder if I can fix that. So here, the terminal, I want this to be maybe no grow? Wait. This to be no grow? No, it still does it. And it says no grow here. And the container is also no grow. This is the column. I think this should just be height equals 100%. Maybe. Can you push this on your GitHub? Like the website? And it still grows. I'll probably want to push... I want to put the site somewhere local, like hosted. I don't know if I want to push the website to a public GitHub. Yeah, like the source code. Maybe I'll do that at some point, but I don't think I want to do that now. Which isn't to say that I wouldn't want to work on it with people, but I wouldn't want to make it public. And this still... It even has a max height. I guess that max height... What if this wasn't a... No, I don't know. So you have triangulated vectorized objects using 3JS. This actually uses almost exactly the Manum community source code. So it's the same way that it happens in Manum community. The only changes are basically the interface to let it basically communicate with 3JS and like this front end code and stuff like that. Well, I wish I could keep this from growing, but I have no idea. If I give this a max height, what if... I don't think that would work. That doesn't really make sense. No grow. What if this had a height 100%? That looks sort of promising. No. Okay, so almost. What was the max height? Maybe this makes sense? Probably not. If I had to guess. Wait. Although this does have the grow property. Okay, so that didn't work. But if I do this no grow, then surely, I don't think this will work either, if I'm being honest. Darn. Max height equals 100%. That means 100% of the container. So maybe it makes sense that that grows too much. Okay, well, now I'm stuck, so... I got to... This is so close. Like, right now, it's the right size. Anyway... This mostly does what I expect it to do. Cool, so maybe I'll just like figure out this styling stuff offline and then try to, maybe tomorrow I'll try to deploy it, or I'll work more on my lesson. Either one. But I'm pretty sure attempting to get this not to grow along the cross axis is pretty difficult. Force select them not to grow in the cross axis direction. I remember arriving on this exact same page when I was writing this website. And it didn't make any sense then. What you need to do is set width and min width. This collapses status message, which I don't know what this is, so it doesn't affect the column width. Expands it to the width of the column. So maybe I need... Would that mean this? And not have the grow. And then for terminal container, which is the child, this is taking too long. Did I break something? Oh, there it goes. Okay, sure. Then for this, I want to do min height 0 and height 100%. No, min height 100% and height 0. I don't think this is gonna work. If I had cancel HTML, that's full screen, isn't it? That's what I copied this from, pretty much. When I refresh the page, it's still the same size. No, it's just always this size. Okay. Well, when I go to the bottom, does it still grow? It doesn't. So that's a step in the right direction. Terminal scrolling style already? Well, it changes depending on what its surroundings are. Let's see. ida.org. En stable. Yeah, since the full screen app, there's like no styling to do. Dash kernel scroll. Well, I don't know what this setting is. It's using what's the thing called? jQuery? Is the API reference? Query terminal. Yeah, I'm not sure that's something you're supposed to set on your own. But it's like, it's pretty close here. It's just like, this shouldn't be 100%. It should be... Maybe if this didn't have the height 100%? Now it's still super big. This is height 0 and min height. Darn. I want it to like fill the rest of the height or whatever. Okay, whatever. I don't know how to do it. I'm probably gonna debug this for a long time. Until that works. But for now, I'm gonna raid someone. This uses jQuery terminal, yeah. I mean, it's copied from the Pyodide code, and the Pyodide code uses jQuery terminal. The people I usually raid aren't here. What is the deal? By what you mean all the people on binary? Well, this person's still here, Midnight Simon. But I've been raiding him too much. How long has this person been going? 3.5 hours. I don't see how they do it. Godot. Math stream though. There's a math stream? Oh, there's me. We can raid another VTuber. And they just started. The one I just clicked. Oh, that was the one. This one. Oh yeah, that is a mass stream. Interesting. It's just been going for so long. I don't know if I want to raid someone who's been going for 3 hours. And this person's kind of big already. And he's been going for 10 hours, dude. How? How do you do it? Okay, we're reading VTuber. Say hello and learn some Rust. I want to, if it's possible, start moving some of Manum to Rust. Or at least the computationally intensive parts. Anyway.
Almost negating the drawbacks of interpreted languages. Cooler! I think that's how you pronounce it. But thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate it. Welcome back. How are you doing? How's your stream? Welcome back. Hello. What are you working on? Your stream went well. I hit the mic. I'm learning Rust right now. Pretending to CSS. Oh my god. Dude, I hate CSS as well. It's so I actually had like a motivation to work on my website today. And I just kinda gave up because like I didn't know how to use CSS thing. So yeah. But I hate the design thinking. It's really hard to make the website look good, actually good. Like, I don't use Bootstrap either because it doesn't match my theme for my website going forward. It's yeah, I know.